Hello there, outliers. Niiamah Shang here, and thank you so much for letting us be a part of your journey here today. We have an incredible roundtable here to go and serve our community of extraordinary outliers. And what I love about the extraordinary is that we are extraordinary, just regular people doing things to the level that we can. And I'm really glad to bring on one such outlier here by the name of Al Schuster. Al, it is an incredible pleasure to be in space with you. Thank you so much for saying yes to this.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
All right. Well, the way that there's like a Niiamah question that I love to ask, which is for outliers to get to know you. Would you mind letting us know more about you and the game you are playing? You could say pickleball, but we want to know what you're up to, and what you stand for in the world.
My name's Al Schuster. I'm the president and owner of Polaris Brand Promotions. And I'd have to say, game I play would have to be, I just got into Borderlands 4 recently.
Nice, 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 nice. So let's go out. We're gonna be having a good conversation here. Al, tell us more about like your business and the impact that drives it.
So my company is called Polaris Brand Promotions. We are a nationwide promo staffing agency located in the greater Philadelphia area, but we do serve clients nationwide. We do those in-store demos that you often see at places like Costco, or, if you're at a sporting event and someone's asking you to sign up for something or fill out a form and get a t-shirt. That's commonly, where you'll see brand ambassadors activating at. That's kind of some of the work we do is giving out samples and introducing products and services directly to consumers. And over the last year, we've been working on a brand new concept for our industry called Sample Finder. It's going to be the first ever app to exclusively promote these type of experiences directly to consumers and reward them for engaging with brands.
Oh, this is really cool. I'm gonna be like, if you're cool, I'm gonna dive in more and sample fighter in the process of like bringing out something new. I'm like, not only is this, I love having people on here because I sometimes blows my mind of like, oh, there's a whole business, there's a whole industry involved in this. People don't just randomly show up with with samples or like in-store promotions. Like there's a group of people who specifically help make sure that takes place, and I love how you're continuing to innovate within it. Al, may I just ask real quick? So I grew up in South Jersey, so
Okay.
like yeah, outside of Cherry Hill. So I'm like, when you say the greater Philadelphia area, I'm like, oh, that might be my neck of the woods. There is that in your space at all?
I grew up in Northeast Philadelphia, and now I live down in Delaware County, otherwise known as Delco.
Yes. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome there. I love it. I'm out in San Diego now. So it's like a very different space, but I love that. All right. So I find myself like curious about a couple things. Firstly, like this particular industry, like how did you even get into it to start out with? Like where did this come from? Was this like one of those things where like you saw this as a young child and you're like, this is what I want to do? Or like how did this come about into your world?
Very long story short, my background is in accounting and finance.
Mm.
2001 graduate of St. Joe's University, as you can see from the giant diploma behind me. I was working full time in accounting, and I had someone that I had known through some of my little entrepreneurial ventures, and she owned a full service marketing agency. And I always kind of joked with her and said, "Well, you always love my marketing ideas. Someday I'm going to work for you." And she recommended that I help her out with her brand ambassador part of her business. I said, "Well, what's that?" And she said, "Well, the shifts come in, you match them up to the talent in the database, and I'll give you a cut of it." Well, after a while, I kind of realized that, there's a lot of potential, and we kind of had a little bit of a falling out. And I realized, okay, I can do this bigger, better, take it national, and, be the one really driving this business. So, I left my day job, as I always tell people, about 9 months before the pandemic started. Founded the agency back in 2017. I realized after a couple of years, I can't really, hold down a full-time job and, build this agency. So here we are. I started, kind of sat around for, a couple of years during the pandemic, because really, engaging with people face to face was the exact opposite of, what we wanted to do during the pandemic. So, after the pandemic kind of lifted, met a couple of amazing, people, Stephanie Wells and Heather Johnson. Stephanie's now our VP of Operations, and Heather is our marketing director and the co-founder of Sample Finder. So we've been working well with the two of them. And then a few months ago, we hired Claudia, who's our field manager, recent college graduate. So, I can't mention myself and the history of this agency and the success we've had without acknowledging the three of them, because they're really the driving force in, helping to build Polaris Brand Promotions.
Oh, this is fantastic. And kudos to you for making it through a time where like people just weren't coming in person to do things, you know? I think that it's wild to me. Every time I go back, I'm like, oh, it's been like 6 years since like the pandemic, right?
Mhm.
But it's like we're still living in that post-pandemic world in some regards. And when I hear this, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
like to have made it through that really is a testament to you, the business, like what you had going on, and then to come back and like be in a position that you're in right now where you're continuing to grow and innovate in the market. Like kudos to you.
Thank you. It was just a matter of kind of waiting out the storm. I
Mhm.
was fortunate in that I was in the financial capability to do that. Not a lot of people have, and a lot of great
Mhm.
businesses went down because of that.
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of just kind of persevering through financially until we could have that, that return to normalcy.
Yeah, this is something here outliers that I would like to kind of think about for yourself. Like, where are you trying to push right now? Where the real move might just be to like wait. I love what you said, like wait out the storm. Like a lot. Like I think a lot of times we'll talk as entrepreneurs, like, oh, I was a few years too early. But I like what the way that you phrase it feels really different. It's like, oh no, there's a storm of normalcy. There's a storm of whatever the world is used to right now. And I just have to kind of wait for the right time for it to be available. And what I'm hearing from you is like, what do I need to do either now or in the future? Like, what did I need to do to make sure that I could weather that storm when it came? So that's cool. That's cool. Tell us a bit about. I'm curious about Sample Finder. I'm curious about like your like really the process of innovation. Because like, how long have you been in this industry now?
For about 9 years now. We're
9
coming
years.
up on our 9-year anniversary.
Nice, 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 nice. So you've been in it for like 9 years. You've seen all these things, and then you said like, wait a minute, I think we can do it better. I think we can do it different. Like, tell us a little bit about that. I'm really curious about like how that process and how this all thing came to life.
Okay, so our entire corporate team, the amazing individuals I mentioned before, um, we all, even though we're at the corporate level of this agency, still go out and do activations. Which you probably know as demos or samplings or things like that. We still go out to do them. In a lot of cases, we did this before we started the industry. Um, so I was down doing a sampling activation at a kind of like a combination grocery store, home goods store down in Washington, D.C. I was representing a chocolate brand. And the store had a very funky layout. Like it was one of those stores that looks like it hasn't really been like kind of like modernized in like 50, 60 years. It still has that very old feel to it. And, it was two levels, like three entrances, escalator, you needed to, access the two floors between. So I was positioned kind of at the escalator and stuff, and I was getting a lot of traffic, especially the people that just needed to, use the escalator to come down. They'd park all their carts right near my demo table. And as I was setting up and everything, I was kind of getting a little frustrated because, even though this was a sizable store, it had multiple entrances. Some people just came in, got what they needed, went to the register, and were nowhere near me. And I kind of thought to myself, I really wish there was a way to advertise these, demo events, these samplings directly to consumers. Um, Not to say it doesn't happen. In a lot of cases, our clients will rely on the natural foot traffic of the space itself. Like if you think about like a sporting event, you have set up a tent, you're tailgating. Or if you have an activation that you're on the concourse level, you've got a tent or a table giving away things. Of your store, maybe you're near the main entrance or maybe in a very, heavily traveled aisle, but you're not always getting 100% of the people that are activating. So the goal of Sample Finder is to really promote these type of events, to get people to come out and try samples, to try new products and services and have those experiences and get that free merchant swag, that they may not otherwise know about. Like if, a major cola brand launches a line extension, meaning another flavor or something, um, you know, they're obviously going to go out and do demos and stuff to promote it, but they're only hitting the people that just happen to be at those stores. And even if you do promote it, you're kind of limited to either the retailer promoting it on their website or their social media only, or to their mailing list or whatnot, or the brand itself is only going to be promoting on their social media, on their website. With Sample Finder, you kind of have everything coming together at once. You can look for different types of products and services where you might want to go out and find samples, like alcoholic beverages, consumer packaged goods, think like your potato chips, your pretzels, health and beauty items, anything like related to maybe like casinos or gaming or things like that. What Sample Finder is going to do is going to be a one-stop shop to find out where all these different brand experiences are happening and how far away they are from you and how close in time they are to you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Like, I was at the end, I was like, oh, like this makes clear sense. I'll tell you what I heard, right?
Mhm.
What I heard is that like, uh, there's there are a number of wonderful opportunities that are taking place where there's samples or demos, there's different activations taking place all the time. But right now, the traffic is like people only find about it because they happen to be in the store and it happened to come up, right? I'm thinking about an experience where I went to go get grocery shopping and there was just like there was something there. I happened to not only was I in the store, but I needed to go and get some food that happened to take me down that aisle, right? And that like if otherwise I could have been in the store and had no clue that it was there. And what I think I'm hearing is that there's two things. Like one, you're empowering the actual consumer, the me that's going out there to be like, hey, by the way, there's things happening around you. Like if you want to go check it out, here goes where you might be able to get like a sample in there. I'm hearing that there's also like an element of continuously like building like brand loyalty that's coming in there where you're like, hey, like you like XYZ. They just came up with a new flavor. They came up with something out here. Like go like here goes how you can go and like try before you buy, or whatever it is. Like, but you get to have that experience and like deepen the relationships that you have with the specific brands that you like if that's one of the ways you choose to go down. And then the other thing that was going on in my mind was like oh okay, like this also ends up being like a great way to partner with different like locations or properties themselves because like usually they're bringing the traffic and you're taking like you're involved in whatever traffic is there. But what I'm hearing is that like you're now going to be directly part of the promotional process to like build the following, get people to come in, which will only ever benefit the organization or like the location that's at as well. So there's different like there's opportunities for partnerships there. So like for me, it feels like it's just like it just makes sense. It's like this thing that in the past we've basically only experienced it as we'll go there and oh there's something happening, but instead now we get a chance to be proactive, we get to be empowered to be able to say like oh this I want to have this experience, let me go check it out. That's what I got from that. Like I started extrapolating a bit there because my head started seeing like the system or like an ecosystem coming together. But how did I do? is the question. How did I do overall?
You did great. You know, the Sample Finder platform itself is going to offer a lot.
Yeah.
It's going to be a one-stop shop to find out where different promotional experiences are going on at retailers and like public locations near where you're at.
Mm.
Um, we're going to have a point structure where if you engage in different activities like signing up, like referring friends, like successfully answering trivia questions, um, as well as going to stores and checking in and writing little small reviews, we are going to be able to reward points for these activities. And then we're going to take the data that we collect, the surveys about the brand experience they have, and share it directly with the suppliers. We're not necessarily sharing like consumer information like telephone numbers, email addresses, things like that, but we can then use that information to share with our brands to help improve their products and services, as well as to incentivize the people who provided that feedback. With points that'll enter them into monthly contests, giveaways, things like that. And we're actually launching under the hashtag of SaveRetail. Hopefully you can see
Hmm.
it. I can't see myself from behind. We're launching under that hashtag because we're really concerned with the proliferation of like online shopping, which is a great medium. It's convenient, it's friendly, whatnot. We're seeing slowly the degradation of the in-store retail experience. And what I mean by that is, first it was online shopping, now it's grocery delivery. It seems like people actually going physically into stores is decreasing rapidly. And with that, you're losing, choice and quality. Choice being, the online retailers are going to bump to the top of the search results what they want you to see, where they want you to target your dollars. You're not going to get the choice. Like, for instance, on a shelf, if you're looking for a particular brand of salsa, you have all the salsas sitting all clumped together so you can kind of look at each of them individually. Now you just have to look at whatever's at the top of the search results because you assume that's the best, the most popular, whatever. And also, like, as more people engage with like online delivery services, you're going to see that the pain of returning things is a lot less than the pain of just keeping it, or a lot more than just keeping it. What I mean by that is, if you do, grocery delivery and you're just, maybe the cut of meat was not exactly as good as you had expected, or would have been if you'd gone into the store and purchased it on your own, or the box maybe be damaged and stuff, and just living with it, just dealing with it's going to be a lot easier than trying to return it to the store. So that level of quality and choice is going to diminish rapidly, as to what we've been used to for decades, if not centuries now, in the retail experience, where you have a storefront, you can pick and choose your items, and then pay for them. So what we really want to do is see Sample Finder help to change retail locations from places where you're just, quote unquote, buying things, where you go in, you have to navigate the aisles of the cart, whatever, and turn them more into experiential engagement spaces. And I think that's what's really going to save the brick and mortar retail establishment, is actually, like, kind of encouraging retailers, have sampling zones, do things more that drive your traffic, or drive traffic into your stores, and especially, versus your competition, because this is capitalism. It's obviously all about competition, and, drive for increased revenue growth. So we just don't want to see that experience kind of die for consumers, and that choice and that quality. So we really want to offer something in an organized structure to help retailers and to drive that business into those physical spaces.
Yeah, it's like I'm hearing like experiential engagement, and I think about this, and it's what's fun for me is as you say this out, like it goes from being like a an app that is very valuable, or like a product that's very valuable with the Simplifier, to like, oh, you're actually like revitalizing the entire like industry. You're like there's a mission that's much larger than
Mhm.
just the ease and the value to the consumer, or to people there. And I really want to just like slow down a bit in that kind of like mission orientation of it all. Like this is not, this is one of the best ways forward that you know how to like revitalize it, like this, to your point, hashtag save retail, and I love that component of like elevated beyond just like this is what's happening. Yes, it's capitalism. Yes, there's all these things that we do from like the business standpoint to make it happen, but there's also something larger in here. And what I feel is that you're like there's a better experience that people are actually missing out on, the that like that you can help restore, or help them like get a chance to experience once again. Like does that feel like true as I say that out loud?
Very much. When I developed the sample finder concept, I kind of did it with the kind of the outlier perspective of,
Mm,
I want to do something that other companies don't do within my industry.
mm,
Um, and then from there, I started to see all the potential that the platform could do as I was building out the user, interface experience.
mm.
Um, And by the way, a total tangent here, but Heather Johnson is our co-founder. She's also our marketing director at Polaris Brand Promotions. As I always like to say, like, I came up with the concept and kind of the initial like kind of purpose of this, and everything you'll see in terms of the design, the brand identity, the great, like, the user interface, the all the images you see, that is all her. So I always love to give a shout out to her effort and her creativity. So when this app is launched within the next, hopefully next month or so, or we don't want to launch until it goes great. A lot of what you're going to see in the actual interface is all her creativity. So back to the topic. Thank you. Just want to do that shout out. I always got to
Yeah,
give credit where
yeah.
it's due. It started out as a way to differentiate my business, and then I saw the greater potential for the entire industry, and that's how we decided to kind of repurpose this mission and this app to do more good.
Yeah.
It's funny what you say about getting the attention out there. We worked on a program. Called Bird Dogs, where we were giving out Dietz and Watson, hot dogs during the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl run last year. They were dyed green buns. They tasted great. You couldn't taste the green dye. I was just like food dye. And it's these really amazing, tasty hot dogs. And we went around from spot to spot. And Dietz and Watson actually promoted this on their social media. And you would have individuals come around from like all over the city. Literally, they would drive maybe a half hour, 45 minutes or longer just to get essentially a hot dog and a t-shirt or a beanie. And it kind of was like the proof of concept is right there. People will travel, people will go out of their way, not for the intrinsic value, but for the experience. And that's what we're really looking to do, is to have people say, hey, I want to go around and try some new products today. Or, oh, let me see what my favorite supermarket is demoing today. Or like, hey, I want to go on a scavenger hunt in my city. I want to go walk around for a day and experience things. Let me see what little demo events are going on in my neighborhood, so I can kind of draw a line through the app, kind of like an imaginary line of all the spots I want to hit and try new things there. So we really want to just make that human engagement, that experience, that one-on-one interaction connection with a brand that you really don't get through the impersonalized social media or the billboards or the commercials or whatever. We want to really bring that experience back and really make it a thing, and kind of like part of the cultural zeitgeist.
It's quite fun talking and listening to you because I love the language choices, right? And the language choices I think are like they shape what it is. So like when you talked about activations, you described them like you will experience them as demos and samples and so on and so forth. But I felt like there's a reason why you consider them activations. Like there's something that happens with that choice of word that transforms it from I'm here to provide a demo, here take a sample, and it makes it into something much larger. And when I hear you talk about this, like I also hear you talk about it as experiences, right? And it's like this is especially like we have more AI, we have more like it's ease of delivery, all that. It's like, all right, so we're not just here to deliver a product, we're here to actually go and create a new experience. And maybe the experience is I got to take this selfie with this green hot dog bun now, or whatever it is. But like but that's you're off that's part of what you're offering, like am I getting that right? Like I just enjoy what I enjoyed here was the elevation of language and how like the way that you choose to name it or think about it actually helps to make a more robust solution that provides more value than just a more efficient way to get people to go like try samples. That's not what I feel like I'm hearing from you at all. And like I'm just trying to capture some of the ways that you've taken this from what you said earlier. Like I thought it was going to be good for our business, so that's why I did it, obviously. But then at the same time, I realized that there was so much more potential, and you're leaning into it. Can you speak to that for any outlier out there who's like maybe either finding themselves in that position, or maybe has something that's really great that they want to bring out to the world, but they're like, I don't see how this fits within like the larger my larger like missions in life.
Well, two things. I recently saw a quote like, for every app idea out there, there's someone that thought of it first but decided not to move forward with it.
Mm,
So that's the great thing about, if you're building something, just think like other people had that idea, but you actually had the guts to go forth and launch it.
mhm,
That's the true entrepreneurial experience. The second thing is, you know, test as much as you can. And what I mean by that is, I mean, granted, we could bring into the discussion like NDAs and things like that. But,
mhm,
if you have an idea, share it with people. Find people who are, smart as you, smarter than you, have different experiences, different perspectives, and ask them for their opinion. Ask them to honestly tear it apart, what they like, don't like. I mean, we haven't received really a lot of negative feedback about the sample finder concept. There were some concerns. We have, tried to address them or incorporate them. But the important thing is to really just like, get that secondary kind of opinion from people and kind of shop your idea around. Remember, I mean, have people have you sign NDAs and things like that. But I mean, an idea is just an idea. It has no value until it's implemented and acted upon. Like,
Mm,
another quote that I had heard at one time was like, you can have the greatest, product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, you're not going to grow it. You're not going to develop it. So, you kind of have to, do that initial vetting. Find those people in your circle who are going to give you that honest, fair assessment, because you don't want to throw your life savings into something and then realize, oh crap, I throw my money into something and there are these 3 red flags, which means it never would have taken off. So you kind of have to do your due diligence, your thinking, without giving away too many of the corporate secrets, too many of the specifics about how the idea is going to work in the process, if that makes sense.
yeah, no, that definitely does. I'm glad that you didn't like. It's like it's fun to be in a place of like creation, and being able to recognize that like there's new things, there's new opportunities, and like what it sounds like to me is that you started solving a more interesting problem, or maybe a bigger problem, or a better problem. One of them is where it's like the first problem was like, all right, how do we bring more people into our business? How does this like help us from there? And then you just kept elevating the problem, and which helped you get to more like to different types of things. And then like you started to iterate and test and bring it out to people and in a new way. But I'm thinking about this. I'm like, what was the spark behind this? Is this like because I don't like it's not just like you're just building to build. And I realize like I get the sense that you're like, oh, there's a need or there's a problem that we can solve that we're uniquely positioned to solve that will also help my business. Like let's go in there. And there's something about that like that feels more complete overall as I hear you say this out. So I appreciate the way that like you elevate beyond the mundane and into something newer. Like that's like I used to be a former actuarial consultant. So when you talk about like coming from like accounting and things like that, I'm like, okay, yeah, like there's a practicality that we have, but then there's also like an imagination that comes in, and like I see that you really help people. What I get about you is that you're able to understand like both the nuts and bolts practical sense of things, but you're also able to like tap into what inspires people to actually make decisions and choices and influences and empowers them to do that. And I think that juxtaposition is really quite cool. Wow. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we're going to wrap up our conversation here. Can you let outliers know how they can go deeper down the journey with you?
Thank you. You can either visit Polaris Brand Promotions.com, which is primarily the website for our brand ambassador staffing services, or you can go to samplefinder.com to learn more about the Sample Finder app. And also, you'll see a little pop up. You can enter your email address to be one of the first to know when the app is live and ready to be experienced.
All right, I love that there. I love that there. Al, let's do this here. We wrap up every conversation with an insight. Like my thing is like anytime we talk, it should be it's, the only reason I have a conversation is for it to be a life changing conversation. So I'm curious for you, Al, what's something that you might be taking away from this conversation as a result of you being here? And if the answer is like nothing, or you just had a good time, like you can say that. Like don't feel like you got to make up anything like deep or profound. But like what's something you're taking out from here?
Um, I would just like to say, I really appreciate you touching about, like, I guess when you're looking to launch something or build something, some of the thought processes and getting that perspective
Mhm.
from, other people and things like that. Because, being an entrepreneur is not easy. It's probably one of the hardest things out there to do. You're not working on, for someone. You're building your own roadmap as you go. They often say, like, when you build a business, and I've told this to my team several times, like, building a business is like jumping off a cliff and building the airplane on your way down. And
Mhm.
it's so true. It's really. everything falls on the entrepreneur. All the big decisions, all the direction, the strategic vision, the problems to be solved now, potential problems that might pop up later. It's not for the timid. It's not for those easily spooked. And the greater the risk, the greater the potential reward. But it's not necessarily being a smart individual. I think it's very much about being gaining as much knowledge as you can during the process and
Mm.
effectively applying it.
Oof, 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 oof. I loved hearing that there, Al. One of the things you just gave me with that is to recognize like it's a feature, not a bug. Like, so and what I mean by that is like right now I'm in the place where I'm like, oh, I need to get this thing right. I wanted to launch this thing. Like, oh, let me just. What if I just spend a little bit more time getting it right? What if I just? What if? And I'm not jumping. Like that's not the role of the entrepreneur. The role of the entrepreneur is to be jumping. You know,
Yeah,
and to be building through that rather than trying to build and then jump. Like that's just not how it goes. Like you didn't
yeah.
choose that path.
One of the another um, very great motto that I often use, especially when we do our web design work, is don't let great be the enemy of good.
Mm,
You're or perfect be the enemy of great.
mhm.
You may want everything to be perfect, to work smoothly, to work exactly as intended. You kind of have to take a step back and say, okay, what can I reasonably do? What are some of like my risk thresholds? Like, okay, well, if we do this, it's not going to be perfect, but does it accomplish our goals? Does it meet our objectives? Like, you
Yeah.
can always, especially like in being an artist and whenever you're building a website, designing it, even the template, the layout, and everything, you kind of want everything to be perfect, but it's never going to be perfect. We're going to have like subjective opinions on things. Things could always be laid out a little bit differently. You have to, do the best you can and kind of realize like, okay, it's never always going to be perfect, but if you're accomplishing your goals and you're growing and you're succeeding, then that's really the goal of it. So, that's what you should be striving for.
I
It's like
love
they
that.
say, like, aim for the stars, or aim for this, the sky. Even if you don't succeed, you'll land amongst the stars.
Yeah.
Things like that. So
I love it. I love it. The be here as outliers. We're setting high heights and we're going for it all. And I appreciate it, Al. There's a spark here. I've a project that I've been working on, and like, should I not? And I'm like, oh no, you got to jump. You got to just go for it. And
mhm.
then we'll and it's what's fun for me is like the amount of clarity that comes. There's late nights, early mornings, sweaty palms, but like there's it's so fun to me how much more clarity happens once you're in action working on it versus like trying to design and build it from there. So I'm excited for you on the launch of Sample Finder. Congratulations on the business and its success. I also wanted to say like I see you as a leader. One of the things I get about you as a leader is that like you are willing to uplift and share in the credit. You really said like I got to give credit where credit is due. Not everyone does. You don't have to, but I see that you choose to, and I can imagine what it's like to like be on a team with you and to have you as a partner in business and beyond. Because like I get that like it's not just about you. You keep finding ways to make it about us. You keep finding ways to like make it about more than just you. And as a result of it, I think you find ways for multiple people to win, even when they're not like in the room with you. So Al, I just wanted to show I acknowledge you for that. I see the way that you choose to play. I respect it a lot. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we will be ending this here. Outliers, until the next time we talk, go ahead and be you on purpose. Journey on.